Have you ever felt like you're navigating a storm with no end in sight? Like you've been knocked off course and you're just drifting, wondering why things had to happen the way they did? We've all been there, asking that big, heavy question. Why? Today we're going to explore that question, not with simple platitudes, but by diving into some of the Bible's lesser-known stories that show us in stunning detail how everything truly happens for a reason. We often hear about the big names, Moses, David, Paul, but what about the stories tucked away in the corners of Scripture? Stories that feel incredibly relevant to our modern lives, our struggles, our anxieties. Let's start with a man you might not have heard of, Mephibosheth. That's a mouthful, right? His story is found in 2 Samuel. Mephibosheth was the grandson of King Saul and the son of Jonathan, David's best friend. When he was just 5 years old, news came that his father and grandfather had died in battle. In the panic, his nurse picked him up to flee, but she dropped him. The fall left him crippled in both feet for the rest of his life. Imagine that. In one day, he lost his royal status, his family, and his physical ability. He grew up in hiding in a forgotten place called Lo Debar, which literally means land of no pasture. It was a barren, desolate place. He probably asked, "Why me?" every single day. Years later, once King David had established his kingdom, he asked, "Is there anyone still left of the house of Saul, to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake?" Someone remembered Mephibosheth. David summoned him to the palace. Can you picture the fear Mephibosheth must have felt? The grandson of the former king being called before the new king. He probably expected the worst. He fell on his face before David, calling himself a dead dog. But David's response is one of the most beautiful pictures of grace in the Old Testament. He said, "Don't be afraid. I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan. I will restore to you all the land of your grandfather Saul, and you will always eat at my table." Just like that, his life was transformed. He went from the land of no pasture to the king's table, a place of honor and provision. What does this teach us? Mephibosheth's fall, his years in obscurity, his physical brokenness, none of it was the end of his story. It was all part of a larger narrative that would ultimately showcase God's incredible kindness and faithfulness. His suffering didn't disqualify him. It positioned him to receive a grace he never could have earned. Sometimes our lowest moments, the times we feel most broken and forgotten, are just a setup for God to display His redemptive power in our lives. The very thing that seemed like a senseless tragedy was the precursor to an unimaginable blessing. Now let's look at another story, this one about 4 lepers in 2 Kings, chapter 7. The city of Samaria was under siege. The famine was so severe that people were in utter desperation. Outside the city gates sat 4 men with leprosy. They were outcasts, already facing a slow death from their disease. They were stuck. If they stayed where they were, they would starve. If they went into the city, they would starve with everyone else. They had one other option: surrender to the enemy Aramean camp. It was a long shot. They might be killed instantly. So they reasoned among themselves, "Why sit here until we die?" As they approached, they found it completely deserted. Tents were full of food, drink, gold, silver, and clothes. They ate and drank and celebrated their unbelievable fortune. What happened? The Lord had caused the Aramean army to hear the sound of a great army, so they fled in terror, leaving everything behind. These 4 outcasts, the most marginalized people in their society, became the unlikely heroes. They said, "This is a day of good news, and we are keeping it to ourselves." They went back and told the city gatekeepers, and the entire city was saved from starvation. Think about their situation. They were pushed to the edge of desperation. Their rock bottom became the launching pad for their nation's deliverance. Their decision, born out of having nothing to lose, was the very key that unlocked salvation for everyone. This shows us that sometimes God uses the most unlikely people and the most desperate circumstances to bring about His greatest plans. When you feel cornered, when your options seem to run out, when you feel like an outcast, that might be the exact moment. The why of their suffering as lepers became clear when they were the only ones with the courage, born of desperation, to take that fateful walk. These stories aren't just ancient history. They are patterns. They are proof. Mephibosheth's brokenness led him to a king's table. The lepers' desperation led them to deliver a nation. In our own lives, a painful breakup might be clearing the way for a healthier relationship. A job loss might push you towards your true calling. A period of loneliness might deepen your relationship with God in a way that comfort never could. The Bible is filled with these biblically accurate pictures of God's sovereignty. It's not about a simple, easy life. It's about a purposeful one. Mephibosheth didn't know David would one day be king. The lepers didn't know the enemy camp was empty. They just took the next step. So what's your next step? If you're in a season of asking why, I want to encourage you today. Don't lose hope. Look for the patterns of God's faithfulness in your past. Lean into His promises for your future. Your story isn't over. The most difficult chapter might just be the setup for the most beautiful one. trust the author. He knows what he's doing. If this message resonated with you and you want to dive deeper into these kinds of stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications